One second. All right. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Richard here. Happy 8 p.m. on Saturday here in California. Today's topic, we're going to talk about how do we become a better public speaker. I just felt like this was a good topic for today because I know that a lot of people have been messaging me asking like, how do I be more social? How do I express myself better? How do I be less nervous? And how do I say this? How do I just communicate better? So that's the conversation I want to have for today, which is how do we become better public speakers? That's in front of large audiences. That could be in front of a group of friends or doing a class presentation, whatever it is. So yeah, as always, I don't like to come into these kind of conversations as a expert. Rather, what this live video is about having a conversation. So what I'm going to do during this conversation is I'm going to provide some, I guess, points that I have based off my own experiences and kind of what I've learned. But at the same time, I would love to kind of have some dialogue at the same time. So that means I would love to see, people asking questions. And as we ask questions, kind of the conversation, this whole conversation will evolve as we move along. So it's not just me giving a lecture, whatever it is. So, goodness, I guess I'll do a little quick introduction for anyone who doesn't really know. Professionally, I am a inspirational speaker for middle school, high school students. So that means I speak to middle schools and high schools fairly frequently. And you already know that I make a lot of content on YouTube, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a process for the past 3 years of me developing my speaking style, as well as just, how do I say this? Speaking style, as well as like my message, and just building that comfort to speak. So let me see, Armando, what's going on? So where do we start here? I would say that I don't claim myself to be the best speaker out there. Like, I really don't. I actually don't consider myself to be that great, quote unquote, great of a speaker. I believe what my strength is, hold on, let me rephrase that. I don't believe I am a mechanically good speaker, meaning I use a lot of filler words. I use double starts, ums, ahs, knows, I just use it right there. I'm not a perfect speaker. I make a lot of mistakes. But what I've come to find out in my own journey, and this is just my style, is my first priority in speaking is not sounding perfect. I don't care if I stumble. I don't care if I mess up. I don't care if I make a fool of myself. What's most important is that I'm communicating with authenticity, with vulnerability, connecting with people. That's my number one priority. And sometimes, how do I say this? Like, I could say ums, ahs, filler words and be really messy as long as I'm connecting and getting the point across. That's the main point of it. All right, so I will add a little bit onto that. That doesn't mean I don't get to improve my speaking mechanics. That doesn't mean I don't get to work on taking out those filler words, because that's just a part of the top speakers are able to not only communicate authentically, but also do it in a way that's very clear, that doesn't have filler words. So right now I'm trying to do my best to remove the filler words. All right, I see Tim, Matt on right now. Thanks for hopping on. All right, so what now? My speaking style is very fluid. Goodness. I would appreciate, how do I say this? I would appreciate a little bit of engagement, or just kind of scenarios of maybe what is something that you might want to get out of just this conversation that we're having right now. The reason for that is because I'm going to share with you kind of with whatever perspective I know, which for me, I will teach you how to be a better public speaker in front of a large audience, because that's a lot of what I do. However, maybe you're watching this and your primary goal is not to necessarily speak in front of a large audience. So I would like to know, what is your goal? In terms of being a better speaker, what would you like to improve upon? Do you want to better communicate your ideas to friends, maybe to your team, whatever it is? Do you want to be a better leader, whatever it is? So I'd love to kind of open up that conversation and kind of read comments, because yeah, I mean, I will talk about kind of my own style in throughout this conversation. I don't know how long I'm doing this live for. Usually I just free flow and see how it goes. I'm going to estimate it's going to be somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour. That's my guess. So feel free to ask questions and I'll be here. Armando, hey Richard, for the people who are getting stressed out about real events, what are your feelings towards the repeal of net neutrality and how to deal with it emotionally? That's a deep and off question. Let's see. I'll answer that to the best of my ability. That's a tough one for me to answer. So let's see. Stress over real events. What are your feelings towards the repeal of net neutrality and how to deal with it emotionally? That's a deep question. From my knowledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not very well versed on this topic of net neutrality, but from what I know or what I've heard is that there are certain, whatever you want to call it, countries. I don't even know if the United States is messing with this, but essentially, they are filtering searches. I believe that's the understanding, and I don't know. It sucks. You know, I wish I like the idea of having a World Wide Web, a Google, whatever it is, that we can go on and search without it being filtered and structured a certain way. Because once we start, by the way, correct me if I'm completely wrong, but I believe that's what net neutrality is. I believe once we start filtering our searches, I don't know how to say that. Like it gets, the freedom of knowledge becomes tainted. You know, it becomes skewed. And a great example that I like is the Tiananmen Square example. So if you go, if you're somewhere else in the world and you type in Tiananmen Square, okay, so there's this famous photo of a man standing in front of a tank. So if I'm in the United States, I will see the photo of the man standing in front of the tank. However, if I'm in China, and I think I remember trying this, if I'm in China and I search Tiananmen Square, you're not going to see a photo of a man in front of a tank unless they change their search algorithm to release that. So I think that's kind of, I don't know how to say it, kind of messed up in a way, because it's like we're being conditioned to think a certain way. It's like propaganda. So I mean, at the end of the day, we got to deal with it. It is what it is. So there we go. I don't want to sit too much in the net neutrality conversation for now, because you know we're talking about public speaking. But I will definitely answer your questions because we're on right now. By the way, just FYI, I'm doing 2 live streams. My primary focus is the YouTube live stream, because you know that's how we roll. But I'm also doing it on Facebook as well because this is very relevant to my Facebook friends as well. So feel free to engage. I'm reading all the comments on both sides. So yeah, there we go. Alrighty, let's see. Armando, I will try my best to explain it to you. Okay, not really. Hey Richard, good to see you on. Ventroid, are there any people who support repealing net neutrality? Alright, let's see. You guys are having a side conversation about that. That's cool. Christine, good to see you on. Yay. How to overcome imposter syndrome while speaking in front of an audience who is knowledgeable and smart. That's a great question. So if you're talking about a topic that you know your audience already knows about, how do we overcome that feeling of like, oh shit, like they already know about it and I'm almost pretending I know about it. So how do we overcome that imposter syndrome? I think it's really important to, I think a good opener is, it's setting the tone. It's like setting the tone that you're not the expert, that you're here with a certain perspective or a certain experience. So if you want to overcome imposter syndrome, it's setting the stage. It's being vulnerable. Like, hey, you know, let's say you're speaking at a tech event or something, and you're like, look, there's a lot of smart people in this room. I should not be the one standing up on stage, but I was, you know, very blessed, or I was given this opportunity to do so. So I want to do my best, and whatever it is, I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear your ideas. If you're the type of person who likes to engage. But really, to overcome imposter syndrome is don't pretend you're the expert. That's really what it is. It's just embracing that you don't know everything, and that's okay, and that people can still learn even if you don't know everything. I think being a human being, we always have a lot of different experiences, life experiences, that we could always learn from each other. So yeah, that's what I have. I hope that helps. Thanks, Christine. Okay, let's see. Brandon, good live stream. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ventroid, sorry, forgot to say hello. Neutrality is kind of a big deal. Chatter, do you still get physical feelings like butterflies in your stomach when you speak? Yes. Yes, 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 and yes. I absolutely still do get butterflies in my stomach. I still get nervous when I speak. I have a feeling, for the most part, all speakers, even if they're very successful, they still get nervous when they speak. Typically, how do I say this? Typically, especially as a, whatever you want to call it, like a professional speaker, we're always looking to push ourselves to do bigger opportunities. So let's say, I'm just going to call it like Tony Robbins, who's like the biggest, we'll call him the motivational speaker, quote unquote motivational speaker. Like, I have a feeling that he still gets nervous when he goes up on stage, because it's like, as a speaker, we have a certain duty to perform, or to make an impact in people's lives. So we get nervous because we care about the people in front of us. So yes, I always get nervous because I know that, how do I say this? I know that every single speech presentation is completely different from the one I did previously. Even if I say the exact same content, the same stories, it's still very different. And every single audience is different. And I need to be very, very present to understand what are the stories, how do I connect with people in this moment. So that's why I still get nervous. And another thing about speaking is, I don't care how long you've been doing speaking, whether you are struggling to do a classroom presentation, or you're struggling with talking with friends, or you've done 1,000 presentations. Everyone is still constantly developing their speaking skills. It's a never-ending journey of life of just improving our skills. There's always something to be improving. So let's see, for myself, I've done over 150 different presentations in the past, 3-4 years. And even though I've done 150 presentations of pretty much the same topic every single time, I still feel like I don't know, how do I say this? I still feel like I'm still figuring out how to be a speaker. Like, it takes a lot of practice to build up that courage, that confidence, to be to feel comfortable with what you're doing. So don't worry if you feel nervous. That's super natural. Alrighty. Cool. I have to do on Monday, okay? You're welcome, Christine. Ventroid, how do you stop stuttering or saying when making speeches? That's such a great question. If you haven't noticed, if you observe my own speaking, I will still say lots of ums, and stutter. I will still do double starts. That's a very natural thing to do. And what I've seen, it doesn't mean I don't know how to, resolve it. But what I've seen that helps, of course, number one is practice. You just need to continue practicing speaking. And if you watch this video and you look at how I was speaking in the beginning of this video versus how I'm speaking in this moment, you'll probably notice that I'm actually not using as many filler words right now in this moment. The reason why I'm not using filler words in this moment is because I'm being very present and conscious not to use filler words. So how do you not use filler words like and how you do that is you practice being aware. And it's just one of those things that you have to practice. Like, literally in this moment right now, I'm practicing not using filler words. So that's what's helping me to get better at it. The thing is, it's a constant practice. I just said it's a constant practice. I just said it is a constant practice to improve and let go of these filler words. I don't know the exact psychology behind it, but if I were to guess, I believe filler words is it's a mechanism that fills that awkward space because it feels uncomfortable when we're not saying anything. So I believe what we get to do is we get to be more observant of the way we speak and remove those filler words, like practice removing those filler words one little moment at a time. So I'm going to throw this back to you. If you want to learn how to remove filler words from your conversation, you could practice this with friends too. When you're having a conversation, slow down just a little bit. Slow down just a little bit and think about what you're saying. Like, thank you very much. In this moment right now, I'm slowing down enough to catch my filler words. And I know that I've only said probably about 3 filler words in the past 3 minutes, which is much better than I normally do. I probably use like, I don't know, 20 filler words in 3 minutes. I use a lot, and I know that. And when I speak up on stage, it's the same thing. Because when I'm up on stage, my focus is not making sure I don't use filler words. My focus is, let's freaking just deliver the message. And filler words is kind of like secondary or tertiary. It's like in the back of my mind. I don't try to focus on that too much because that takes away from the presentation. Thank you for that question. That was awesome. Christine, what do you think is the biggest difference between doing live streams online and doing presentations in real life? How can we bring skills from offline presentations to online? Goodness, these questions. All right, I'm going to repeat that question one more time. Christine says, what do you think is the biggest difference between doing live streams online and doing presentations in real life? How can we bring skills from offline presentations to online? Okay, I got to feel this one out for a second. Richard, I don't know if you're asking, Richard, I don't know if you're asking me. Please ask the question again and then I'll answer it. Sorry about that. I might have missed it. So the biggest difference for me, I'm still thinking about this answer. The biggest difference for me between online presentation and offline presentations, I would say, is that online live streams, I'm able to interact with you live. And this is just my style. You know, some speakers, let's take Lewis Howes, for example. Lewis Howes does interact, but for the most part, he's very focused on delivering his content live. So, how do I say this? I'm going to speak for myself. When I do Facebook Live videos or YouTube Live videos, the really cool thing about it is that I'm able to talk to you live. I'm able to see your questions as we speak. We're able to have a conversation in real time, like right now in this moment. So when you ask questions right now, I'm able to understand what is going through your mind. What are the questions that you have? However, when I'm speaking on stage offline, I don't have that luxury. I don't know what the audience is thinking exactly. I could only read their body language and that's about it. And sometimes when we look into the audience and we read their body language, it's not always right. At least that's my own perspective. Sometimes it seems like the audience might be bored, when actually they're not bored. They are just listening intently and they're just focused. Like they're so zoned in that they're not, like, whatever it is, no facial expressions, because they're trying to focus on the message. And sometimes maybe they're bored. Who knows? So I think those are the main differences. I want to talk a little bit about connection. Monica, good to see you on. My high school counselor back in 2003 to 2007 is on. So what up? Welcome. That's so cool. So let's talk about connecting. So in terms of public speaking and building connections with the people that we're speaking with, what's the difference between online and offline? I'm going to start with offline because I've been talking about online for a little bit. So offline connecting with people, the cool thing about that is that in a live audience, we have the opportunity to make eye contact with people, to stare at people in the audience and connect with them like that. We can see what their emotions are. While online, we got to connect with people in a different way. We got to connect with people and kind of draw out those questions or comments, because that's the only way we really know the feedback and how people are perceiving the information is what are the comments that they're giving. So what are the comments that you all are giving to me? That's the only way I know, where your mind is. Otherwise, I don't really know. All right, hold on. There's something else. Speaking online. Yeah, so online versus offline. I love that conversation. Thank you, Christine, for that question. Awesome. Alrighty. Okay, so we are currently caught up with questions. Feel free to keep asking questions. All right, so I'm in this moment. Again, if you're just joining us right now, we're talking about how do we become a better public speaker. That's in any setting, and how can you become a better speaker in front of a classroom, in front of, working in teams, communicating with your friends, one-on-one conversations. It could be anything. In this context, I'm going to talk a little bit more about larger, standing in front of a group of people kind of presentations. So this is quite a bit of a secret of mine that I don't really share a lot, because I think it's very easy for especially people who hire me to judge. Goodness. So my secret is that I'm not a very good person when it comes to quote unquote preparing for a presentation. I'm not a type of person who likes to outline or spend a lot of time writing out and scripting a presentation. That's just not my style. I've had many big presentations where I've spoken in front of thousands of people where I was barely prepared for the presentation, and that's okay. So my TED Talk, the TEDx talk I did a few years ago, I actually prepared the morning of. Long story was, I was, Christine, you already heard this one. How do I say this? I had a certain topic that I want to talk about at the TEDx. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? The audience needs to hear a different message. So the night before the actual event, I called up the organizer and I asked her, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, would it be possible if I changed my topic? And she's like, Richard, I trust you. If you feel like that's what you need to do, then go for it. So in that moment, I just decided, I trusted my heart. I was like, you know what, this topic is not going to serve, I was going to talk about video game addiction or something like that. So this topic is not going to serve this audience as much as talking about embracing awkwardness. So I switched my topic to embracing awkwardness, and I pretty much did a lot of my presentation on the fly. It was very improvised. And I mean, you could watch my presentation, just search on YouTube, embracing awkwardness, and then Richard Kuo, or embracing awkwardness TEDx, whatever. And I'd like to think it did. I did pretty well for it to be improvised. But overall, it's kind of scary. I'm not, how do I say this? I'm not bragging that it was so last minute. I think that's something I'm constantly working on, and I constantly push myself to prepare ahead of time. But at the same time, a lot of my speaking style is just being in the moment, is being present with the audience in front of me. And it's a balance. I'm not a perfect speaker. There are so many different ways that I get to be a better, whatever you want to call it, a more responsible speaker, prepare ahead of time, all that kind of stuff. That's just one of those mental blocks that I have, but it's also, there's a strength and a weakness in all of this. So yeah, I like to improvise. That's just my style. Costa, good to see you on, man. It's been a while. Alrighty. Let's see. Do I listen to Jordan Peterson? No, I don't know who Jordan Peterson is. So I would love to, I'm going to search that up right now. Jordan Peterson. Alright, Jordan Peterson is psychology. What else? Nice. Okay. I'm always down to learn. Public speaking. So I guess right now, let's dive into a few, I guess you can say, practical tips in terms of how do we develop our public speaking, resources, things like that. I guess I'll talk with my own experiences. The best way I feel like the best way to kind of share knowledge is to share what you've done and what's helped you. So what's helped me on my journey of becoming a better speaker? I would say number one is joining Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a international public speaking / leadership organization, and the whole organization is literally like there's thousands of meetings happening around the world every single week. Thousands, hundreds and thousands. I once did a search in the LA area of like how many Toastmasters are around where I live, and in like a 5 to 10 mile radius there was over 100 Toastmasters clubs. My point being is Toastmasters isn't everywhere, but it's international, and I'm crossing my fingers that if you're interested in building up your public speaking skills, that there's a Toastmasters near you. It's like I used to be a part of multiple clubs, and I used to just practice speaking every single week and just developing my speaking skills. When you first get started with speaking, you're going to be nervous. It's natural. You know, it's scary. And the more you just practice, the more you risk, the more you just put yourself out there, you will begin to feel comfortable, and you'll begin to kind of figure out your style. So that's number one. Number one practical tip of building up speaking skills is Toastmasters. Number two, I would say for me was making YouTube videos. It's or you could do Facebook / YouTube lives. Like this is such a great way to just learn how to flow and find that voice of yours. You know, how do you find that message or whatever it is that you want to do. So these are all great ways. YouTube kicked my butt. Like, what was it? I started in 2014. I believe February 2014 is when I started making YouTube videos. And I remember my first YouTube videos, they were very awkward, they were very scripted, they were not natural. I tried my best to be authentic and all that stuff, but it was just really tough. So what I realized is that speaking is just like any other skill. It's just like playing basketball. It's just like practicing the piano. You know, it's just like learning how to dance or play baseball or whatever it is. It's just another skill. So anyone can learn how to speak. It's just you got to put in the time to do it. So making YouTube videos kicked my butt. It was many weeks, months, and probably years of making awkward videos. Meaning I tried my best, and sure, I was inspiring people. People enjoyed my content. But I will look back at a lot of my old videos and I will cringe at it. I'll be like, oh, that's so awkward. Like, I can't believe I talk like that, you know? And I'll be honest, like 3 years later, sometimes I still cringe at my videos today. Sometimes I might produce a piece of content, maybe a few weeks ago, where I'm like, oh my goodness, can I take this video down? But the thing is, for the most part, I don't like taking videos down, even though I want to sometimes, because I know that someone might get something out of the video, even if I don't think that they will. Because that's happened to me way too many times where there's videos that I want to take down, but people write comments on those exact videos like, oh dude, whatever it is, that was really helpful, thank you so much. So for you, if you are interested in making a difference or influencing people, just know that sometimes you never know the impact that you might have on other people. And don't be afraid to speak. Don't be afraid to voice your thoughts, your opinions, and just go out there and deliver your message that you want to share with the world. And even if you're not clear on what your message is, just practice. And that's literally I believe that's how you get to finding what your message is. And yeah, I'm just thinking about when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't know what my topic was. I struggled for a long time. I just made random videos that was somewhat personal development-ish, somewhat life philosophy and vlog, and there was some really awkward stuff too. Like if you look back at my videos, there's some things that are just like, goodness. Okay, so there we go, public speaking. I'd like to hear kind of, I'm trying to figure out in terms of live stream. Tomorrow is Sunday. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at my calendar. I'm planning my next live stream. If tomorrow's Sunday, You know what? I will do a live stream tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm going to write that on my calendar right now. Okay. So tomorrow, tentatively 9 p.m. Hold on. Sunday, December 3rd, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's LA time. And I am going to, right now I'm posting it as, it'll definitely be on YouTube. Maybe, I don't know about Facebook, but it'll definitely be on YouTube. So topic wise, I haven't figured out what it is, but in general, what I'm going to do is throughout my day as I'm working, I'll think about kind of what is the big lesson that I have for the day, or, you know, what's that, like, maybe I have a light bulb moment, and I will use that as kind of my conversation piece. All right. So with that being said, I believe that I've covered everything that I need to. I don't see any additional questions in this moment right now. If you have questions as I wrap up, feel free to ask them, and I'll love to answer it and talk more about how to become a better speaker, public speaker. Or if you want to suggest future topic ideas, I'm more than happy to do that. You know, I'm here to support you, and that's, I don't know how to say it, like, this is what gives me life. This is what gives me purpose. You giving me questions, me answering them. So yeah. All right. So now's the time we're going to wrap up. And how we wrap up is, I'm just going to summarize. I'm going to try to think as to the best of my ability, all the points that we talked about, and just summarize it as quickly as possible. All right. So again, this conversation is about how to be a public speaker, a better public speaker. Let's see. I would say number one, before learning how, this is all situational too. But for me personally, I personally believe that it is more important to focus on speaking from the heart. It's more important to be authentic and vulnerable and connect with people than worrying about the words that you say. So if you want to be a more effective public speaker, don't focus on saying the right things. Don't focus on trying to be eloquent or try to look impressive. Nobody cares about that. You know, it's people just want to connect with people. That's really what speaking is all about. So a number one priority is, if you're publicly speaking, just connect with your audience. Have fun with it. And how do I say this? A huge thing that I've learned, I've been taught by other people, mentors, friends, speakers, is just like let go and have fun. You know, don't overthink it. Stop putting the attention on you. So if you want to be a better speaker, focus outward, focus on the audience, focus on what am I here to do? What am I here to give to the audience? And not what does the audience think about me? The audience doesn't care about you. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but the audience is not there to watch you screw up. If anything, the audience is there to watch you succeed. They want to watch you succeed. So remember, speaking is about the message that you're delivering. It's not about you. Okay? So that's what I have there. I just saw a comment. I'll read that in just a second. And number two is, let's talk about some practical tips on improving speaking. I believe practical tips, I'll give three. I didn't mention the third one, but number one is join Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an international organization. It's a great way to practice on a weekly or whatever, several times a month, depending on the club. So it's free. It's free to visit, and you can visit unlimited times for free. So that's number one, Toastmasters. Suggestion number two is make YouTube videos, or make YouTube or Facebook live streams. Just make videos, make content. The more you talk, the more you're going to understand your message and learn how to develop yourself. I'm going to give you four practical suggestions. So practical suggestion number three is, if you want to learn to become a better speaker, literally just Google search how to improve my speaking skills. Like, there are plenty of resources and information on the internet. Just, again, Google search how to become a better public speaker. And there's so many different categories of improving speaking quality. For example, you could improve your vocal variety. I'm taking this from Toastmasters, so thank you, Toastmasters. You can improve your vocal variety. Are you talking very soft? Or, are you using your voice, your vocal variety? Are you using your tones and pausing when it's a very dramatic moment? So those are just some speaking techniques. I am not the best at them. Again, I'm not the best mechanical speaker, but I get to work on those things. What else is there? Tone, variety, body language. How do you use your hands? Eye contact. How does this work? Posture. Where do you put your hands? How do you walk around on the stage? Talk about inspiration. How do you motivate people? Storytelling. There's so many different aspects of speaking. So if you have any questions on technique or tips, feel free to reach out to me and ask. What else we got? So we have that. Speaking tips. What's the fourth tip? I don't remember what the fourth tip was. Make YouTube videos, practice. That's what I have. Just practice. That's how you become a better speaker. That's all I can really remember in this exact moment. So I'm going to read these questions and leave it off at that. So Richard De La Fuente says, how can I start a conversation with my friends without clamming up? So how do you start a conversation with your friends without clamming up? I feel like this kind of goes into the conversation of, let's see, it's like a little bit of social anxiety. So we're talking a little bit about social anxiety. We're talking about, how do I say this? Just overall like confidence. And you don't have to be like super, super confident, but just confident enough to have a conversation and not feel awkward. What I will say about this is social anxiety and building up that confidence to talk to people without feeling awkward it's a skill. It's a practice. It's something that everyone needs to learn to build up. It's not, I think some people might learn it, whatever you want to say, more efficient, quote unquote, efficiently than others. It doesn't make them any better of a person. I've struggled with my own social anxiety. I've been very awkward, and trust me, there are plenty of situations today where I struggle with social settings as well. The thing is, just keep practicing. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. Let yourself screw up. Let yourself be imperfect when you talk to your friends, and let yourself be awkward. Embrace your awkwardness. Like literally just embrace the fact that you are not perfect with starting conversations or maintaining conversations. That is perfectly okay. So I'm gonna go answer your question again. How do you, when you're talking with your friends, how do you prevent yourself from clamming up and getting shy and stuff like that? Number one is, again, exactly what I just said. Accept or embrace your awkward. Embrace your awkward. When you embrace your awkwardness, when you embrace that, like, oh shit, I'm gonna walk in here, this might be a little bit awkward. When you embrace that, you're gonna feel less awkward, and you're gonna create this invitation for the other person to embrace their awkwardness as well. And when you do that, it lowers the tension and the expectation to have to come off a certain way, to be very confident. No, like, people just want to chill. So it's okay. It's a process. And if you are on the side where you kind of feel like a little bit more, I'm not pointing any fingers here, but if you're on the side, if you feel like you're kind of like that, the outcast, the loner, I don't feel like I fit in here, just know that that's okay. In a way, if you have those feelings, first of all, that's all just mental. You're not actually a loner, and you don't fit in anywhere. Even though that's what ends up manifesting in real life. But really, it's just practice. Continue practicing. And for myself, I'm looking at my past journey, and again, I've not always been comfortable with talking to people, and I've always been a super awkward internally. Internally, I always felt very insecure, awkward, anxious talking to people. But I continue to push myself over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that's how I am where I'm at right now, which I would say I'm at a pretty decent spot, but there's always more room to grow. I still feel anxiety in certain social situations. So I hope that's helpful in terms of how do you start conversations. I don't feel like I really directly answered that question, so I'm going to try one more time to answer this question very specifically, which, again, the question is, how do I start a conversation with my friends without clamming up? So, honestly, like, I would say that a good practice, if you're scared, is small talk. I'm going to be real. I'm not a big fan of small talk, but if that's what you need to do, do it. And, don't think that you shouldn't be doing it. So If you're nervous, small talk it. You know, just be like, hey, how's it going? You know, whatever it is. How's the weather? What'd you do today or yesterday? Or hey, did you see that show that just came out? Or dude, did you hear that in the news? Or dude, that was crazy, right? Like, those little conversations are good points to start. And just know that, I don't know how to say this, when we are young, everything is going to be a little bit awkward. You know, we're still trying to learn this, and you're not the only one. There's so many of us trying to figure out life, how to be more, communicate more efficiently. All right, cool. I appreciate everyone tuning in and just joining me in this conversation. Again, I would love to hear. I'm being real about this one. Like, I'd love to hear kind of what are some questions that you might have, that you might, like, areas that you might need support on. And because I really want to make videos that are for you, as opposed to just making random videos. When nobody asks questions, I will just choose a topic that I think people might be interested in. And I'm guessing that some people who watch, even though they're not commenting, actually got something out of this. And, they're like, oh shoot, that was actually pretty cool. So, but I don't know. But that's kind of the feedback that I get in general. So tomorrow is a blank, quote unquote, blank topic. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. If you got suggestions, let me know. Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate you all for hopping on and joining me in this conversation, and just giving me this opportunity to speak my mind and reflect on myself as well. Mariah, good to see you on. These were all great points. Richard, thank you. And Richard De La Fuente, thank you for the thank you. All right, cool. As always, I'm here if you need me, so feel free you can email me, richard@richardco.com, if you want to you can just message me as well, whatever is most convenient for you, all right? And I want to leave with a thought or a question, just to kind of get our minds thinking as we head off. So I haven't thought about what the thought is, but I'm going to think about it right now. Okay. D, good to see you on. D Goju. Let's see. The question I want to leave all of you with is, why might, I guess in a way, like, no, sorry. Give me a second. I want to figure this one out. Okay, let's go with this one. What would your life look like if you were a much better public speaker? All right. So that's a question of the evening or the day. What would your life look like if you were a much better public speaker? So I want you to think about that. Okay. So I want to talk, have a little bit of conversation about this, and, we'll wrap up. So again, the question one more time is, what would your life look like if you were a much better public speaker? So I want you to think about wherever you are in your life, whether you are in school, whether you are a speaker, or maybe you're just whatever it is, you're working. It doesn't matter where you are. What would happen if you became a much better speaker or communicator? So I want to walk through each little scenario briefly. If you're a student, if you were to become a better communicator, what would that do for you? Would that allow you to connect with your friends more? Would that allow you to, whatever you want to say, be more popular, or communicate and feel more confident with yourself? Okay, so let's talk about if you were a speaker or you want to become a speaker. If you were a better speaker, what would that do for you? Would that allow you to deliver your message more clearly to your audience? Would that allow you to connect better? Would that allow you to make a bigger impact? What else? Would that allow you to book higher paid speaking gigs? Would that allow you to speak at larger events and conferences and inspire more people? And then let's say you are working. I'm just gonna say, maybe you're working I don't want to say 9-to-5 job, or you're working for someone else. How might being a better speaker impact your life? So let's say you're working with your team, and you're working with them, and you're able to communicate better what it is that you might need. And once they understand, oh shoot, like, you know, Tommy or Chrissy, good to see you on. Chrissy needs more of this. You know, she needs to get this done. You know, how might that support you in your life? Or maybe how might being a better speaker support you in a relationship that you might have with someone else? Okay, so there we go. I want you to think about that question. How might being a better speaker support you in your life? And then really think about, you know, what are the next steps? You know, so that's the why. Why do I need to be a better speaker? And then how do I become a better speaker? All right, so Toastmasters, YouTube videos, all that stuff. Google search it. All right, thanks for hopping on, and we will see each other tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sunday, December 3rd. All right, and last read of a question or comment. Christine says, if I were a better public speaker, I would be able to connect with older generations better, thereby closing the gap between millennials and older people. Thank you. Okay, take care, everyone. Good night.